He was flying a dead man's airplane. The controls were destroyed. The tail was shredded. Half his crew lay bleeding in the back, and he was 21 years old. Second Lieutenant Charlie Brown had no business being alive, but he was, barely. The B-17 flying fortress named Ye Old Pub was limping across the German sky at barely 135 miles per hour, her nose smashed. Open like a tin can, her left rudder. Gone, her number 2 engine dead. The date was December 20th, 1943. The target had been the Focke-Wulf factory in Bremen, Germany. It was supposed to be a routine daylight bombing run. It became a suicide mission. Before Brown even reached the target, German flak guns ripped his bomber to pieces. The plexiglass nose was blown completely off. The number 4 engine sputtered and died. The intercom was severed. The oxygen lines were destroyed. The tail gunner was dead. 3 other crewmen were severely wounded. Brown himself took a bullet fragment in his right shoulder. He fell unconscious as the plane spiraled downward, losing 30,000 feet of altitude in seconds. When he woke up, he was alone. At the controls, freezing wind blasting. Through the shattered nose at minus 60 degrees, and he was flying over Nazi Germany with 0 defenses. What happened next should have been the end. Below them, a German airfield. On the ground, a man who had already destroyed 27 enemy aircraft. His name was Franz Stigler. He was a 28-year-old Luftwaffe ace, a veteran of North Africa and Sicily, a man who had fought for the fatherland. Since the first shots of the war, Stigler was on the ground refueling and rearming his Messerschmitt Bf-109. Gustav, when he heard the sputtering drone, he looked up and saw something that did not make sense. A B-17, incredibly low, incredibly slow flying, with its landing gear down, a universal sign of surrender. But it was not surrendering. It was just dying. Stigler jumped into his fighter, started his engine, and took off. He had one mission: shoot down the bomber, get his 28th victory, earn the Knight's Cross that was waiting for him with just one more kill. It was the easiest target he had ever seen. He closed a firing range. He put his finger on the trigger, and then he saw the tail. The entire rear section was a nightmare of torn aluminum. The tail gunner's position was a frozen coffin through the gaping holes. In the fuselage, Stigler could see the crew inside, huddled together, tending to their wounded, their yellow oxygen masks, frozen to their faces. He had never seen a bomber so destroyed still flying. It was a ghost ship, a miracle. Stigler pulled alongside the cockpit. He was so close he could see the pilot, a young man with blood on his flight jacket, gripping the yoke with frozen hands, his eyes wide with terror and determination. Stigler looked at this boy. He looked at the devastated machine he was flying, and he remembered something. He remembered his commanding officer in North Africa, Gustav Rodel, who had once told him, "If I ever see you shoot a man in a parachute, I will shoot you down myself." It was a code, a fighter pilot's code from a different era. You do not shoot a man who is defenseless. You do not destroy what is already destroyed. You do not kill for the sake of killing. Stigler looked at the B-17. He looked at his guns. He made a choice that would haunt him for 46 years. Stigler did not fire. Instead, he did something utterly insane for a German pilot over his own homeland. He flew in formation with the B-17 wing to wing, so close that German anti-aircraft gunners on the ground could see exactly what he was doing. He was shielding the enemy. He was escorting them. Brown inside the cockpit saw the silver Messerschmitt pull up next to him so close he could see the pilot's face. The German did not wave. He did not smile. He just pointed forward, pointed toward the North Sea, toward England, toward safety. Brown did not understand. Was this a trick? Was he being escorted to a prison camp? He shook his head. He kept flying straight. Stigler stayed with him. Mile after mile, the German ace flew his fighter next to the dying American bomber, praying that his own comrades on the ground would not open fire, because they would. He knew the flak batteries were watching. He knew a German patrol boat could appear at any moment. He knew that if anyone reported his aircraft number, he would be court-martialed and executed for treason. He stayed anyway. They reached the coast. The gray expanse of the North Sea opened before them. Brown's aircraft was barely holding altitude, the waves growing closer with every passing minute. Stigler knew he could go no further. He was low on fuel. He was deep in restricted airspace. He had done everything he could. He pulled his fighter slightly ahead of the B-17. He looked at Brown one last time. Then he did something that would become legend. He raised his right hand to his temple. A salute. A fighter pilot's salute from one warrior to another. Then he banked his aircraft hard to the right and disappeared back into the clouds over Germany. Brown and his crew were alone, still flying, still dying, but now with a chance. They made it. Ya Old Pub crossed 250 miles of open sea and crash-landed at Seething Airfield in Norfolk, England. The crew survived. The story was buried. Military intelligence classified the incident immediately. They were terrified that news of a good German would spread through the bomber crews. It might make boys hesitate to shoot. It might cost American lives. So Charlie Brown was ordered to never speak of the silver Messerschmitt that saluted him. He obeyed. For 4 decades, he told no one. Franz Stigler told no one either. He survived the war, eventually flying 487 combat missions and earning the Knight's Cross he had been denied that day. He flew the Me-262 jet fighter in the final, desperate months. He lost friends. He lost his country. He lost the war. After the surrender, he immigrated to Canada, became a successful engineer, and buried the memory of the B-17 deep in his heart. He never knew if the crew survived. He never knew if the boy with the blood on his jacket made it home. But the memory haunted him. For 46 years he wondered, did I do the right thing? Did they live? Was my mercy wasted on a dead man? In 1986, Charlie Brown was living in Miami, Florida, retired from the Air Force, still carrying the scars of that day. He decided he could no longer stay silent. He placed an advertisement in a newsletter for former Luftwaffe pilots, looking for the German pilot who saved my life on December 20, 1943. 4 years later, in January 1990, a letter arrived from Vancouver, Canada. Dear Charles, that I was the one. I have often wondered what happened to the B-17. Did she make it home? Did her crew survive? I would very much like to hear from you. Sincerely, Franz Stigler. Brown picked up the phone. His hands were shaking. He dialed the number. A man answered. Hello, Brown. Said, is this Franz Stigler? This is Charlie Brown. There was a long silence on the line. Then the sound of a man weeping. I have been waiting for this call for 46 years, Stigler said. I thought you were dead. I thought I had failed. The two men met in person for the first time in 1990. Was now a heavy-set man in his late 60s. Stigler was a white-haired gentleman with a gentle smile. They embraced like brothers. They talked for hours, filling in the gaps of a story only they could complete. Stigler explained what he saw that day. A broken airplane, a terrified boy, a duty that went deeper than country, deeper than flag, deeper than war. Brown explained what happened next. The crash landing, the medical treatment, the long, quiet life of a man who had been given a second chance. Over the next 18 years, they became inseparable. They traveled together, spoke at schools, appeared on television. They were a living contradiction, an American bomber pilot and a German fighter ace arm in arm, telling the world that even in the darkest skies light can break through. Franz Stigler died on March 20, 2008 in Vancouver, Canada. He was 92 years old. Charlie Brown died 8 months later on November 24, 2008 in Miami, Florida. He was 86. The two men who should have killed each other, who were trained to kill each other, who were ordered to kill each other, died in the same year. In their obituaries, each listed the other as a brother. The story of the Charlie Brown and Franz Stigler incident is not a story about war. It is a story about a choice. A single moment when a man looked through a gun sight and saw not an enemy, but a fellow human being terrified, wounded and desperately trying to go home. Stigler said it best decades later when a reporter asked him why he did not pull the trigger. His answer was simple. To me, it would have been the same as shooting a man in a parachute. I just could not do it. He paused, his eyes growing distant, looking back across the decades to that frozen cockpit over the German coast. I saw them. I could not shoot those poor souls. They were so helpless. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. That bomber, still flying. I just could not do it. That is the sound of honor. A sound louder than machine guns. A sound that echoes long after the engines fall silent. a sound that reminds us that being human means something, especially in war.